Hi guys, Pastor Jim here with Southwest Homestead. We're going to take a couple minutes looking at retaining walls today. So we're going to talk about natural retaining walls and things that you can use. You can see here with these big logs, we had a bunch of these come in. We had a service chip drop out here. There's probably other things similar around the country where arborists, when they take down trees, they trim trees, they bring in all the wood chips. It's good for gardeners and it saves them money, so it's kind of good all around. But we were able to get about 40 yards of wood chips, and they asked if we wanted the logs. I know a lot of people, they don't care for the logs. They say, what am I going to do with so many logs? Here's an idea. Once we got them, I realized how big they were. So we've got these. My lovely assistant will pan along over here, throw random junk out of the way. So we brought these logs in. We had a big pile of all of these. Now, yes, they will decompose, but they are so big it's going to take a long time. Our ground here naturally had a slope from back behind me. It had a gradual slope that came down to the lower area over here. So what we did is we brought these in. These larger ones here, we had a skid steer tractor we brought in to move them. But if you've got a few people, you can roll them depending on the size of your logs. We'll look at some smaller ones here in a minute, but these, we brought them over here and then we filled up everything behind it. We did a mixture of sand, a bunch of the wood chips, lots of wood chips still, and a bunch of clay soil. So we've got a nice mixture going on back here. It's been about a couple years now. So this stuff, if you dig into it, it's a nice sandy, loamy, nice dark earth with all the soil in here. So it's great for the plants. This area right here where we don't have anything but a few weeds, we've got irrigation in here, and we would put in vegetables and other types of things. We had a couple little trees that were a little more frost sensitive, and they just didn't make it. So right behind me here, we've got grapes growing. We've got a nice little bush back there with tomatillos, and we'll kind of pan around this way, and we're going to take a look at a few things you want to keep in mind if you do that as we're getting attacked by puppies. Bagel! Bagel! Come here. Say hi. Say hi. All right. Over here, we've got a little tree in here that is frost sensitive, so it's died back the last couple of years. Flamboyant tree. It's a, I forget what it's called. It is a subtropical. So right where we're at now, if we can get it through 2 years, maybe 3 years without it freezing back real hard, then it should grow. It gets a lot of shade and protection from the Palo Verde here. Bagel's drinking all your coffee.
Oh man.
Don't set your coffee cups down. Your dogs will drink the coffee.
I forgot to put my coffee there. You
set it down and you're going to have a hyper puppy. So this area here is a little raised because everywhere I'm standing is low. And when we get a big storm, a lot of runoff comes right through this area. It'll come through here back to the wash in the back. So we raise this up a little bit so it doesn't sit underwater. All these logs here eventually will go away, was the plan. It'll just be a nice mound, but temporarily it makes a planter, except some of them float away. You can see right down here around the back we're missing a few. When you have a lot of runoff through here and you use logs, you need to secure them somehow. I didn't do that and I suffer the consequences. My plan was to take some 2x4s or something around the insides, nail them in, put some stakes into the ground, maybe concrete them in. My lovely assistant is smiling, so I think she's playing with the camera. I'll continue on this way. Obviously, we're badly in need of mowing the lawn and trimming the weeds. Bagel! Biscuit! Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Say hi. Say hi. Come on. Come on. Say hi. Come on. Come on. Come on. Yeah, you just want belly rubs. You want belly rubs. Yes, you do. Because you always roll over upside down. All right, so in here, this area here, we actually had about a foot of mulch of wood chips on there. It doesn't look like it right now because there's a lot of silt from the runoff that'll come in. We lost a little bit of the wood chips, but it also brought in a lot of silt and covered the wood chips. Now the other dog's drinking your coffee. So it covered the wood chips and it actually layered it. So we've got the native soil, we've got a base of wood chips that's decomposing in there into a nice compost, and then we've got another layer of silt over the top. So we've actually got really good soil going on in here. and weeds like crazy. But all the way along here, right where I'm standing, kind of, I'll walk right along this path right here, we had these logs all the way through here. We got a few left that were buried in, all the way down here. And if we pan off to the fence over here, we can see a big pile of logs where the water coming through piled them all up. So if you do that, you need to secure them. I've actually placed them here twice, or 3 times. We put them back in. The last time we put them in, we had them all in here nice. I was starting to bury some of them more. We were going to secure them nice, but somewhere around there is when plans kind of changed and the place is going up for sale and that whole thing, and we're moving. So what we're actually going to do is we're probably going to place them all one more time. That way they're in place before we go, rather than leave it like this, because it's a lot nicer when it's all fixed. So to recap, a couple things: use logs, use natural material. Some people can use broken brick, broken concrete stuff. You can stack it up, concrete some of the stuff if need be. Some people love using railroad ties in some areas. There are other people that absolutely hate the railroad ties because they've been treated. That way they don't rot away under the train tracks or train rails, technically, whatever. The railroad ties, they're all treated and tarred and everything. So you can use them in areas, but people don't really like it because they don't like a lot of the stuff leaching into the soil, and they don't like using it around vegetable gardens or anything where you're going to be eating stuff. Depends. I don't have a problem with it. Depends on where you use them, but I probably wouldn't line my vegetable garden with them. The more natural, fresh stuff, eventually it's going to decompose. It's going to start falling apart. You'll need to replace the stuff, but depending on how big it is, you're going to have a long time. This stuff's been in a couple years. The larger ones over here that have been in for a couple years, the bark is just starting to come off of them. The actual core of the logs is still intact. So one thing to think about if you're using natural stuff that can decompose is you will have to replace it or repair it at some point, and then make sure it doesn't float away. If you get a lot of rain off, you get a lot of water, make sure everything's not going to just go floating down to the other side of the yard. You have to fix it again, secure it well. So there's our 5-minute tips for using natural material to make retaining walls in your yard. Until the next one, bless you, and I'll see you out there.